What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a Lost March deck. I mean, this was a deck that I've been wanting to bring since the beginning, but I don't know, I'll get into more of my thoughts about Lost March and why I decided to hold off on it until my question of the day. But before I get into the video, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, helps us out a ton, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, as for the question of the day, so Lost March was insanely hyped up before this set came out. Like, as soon as people saw this attack on Jumpluff and saw the ability on Skiploom, also you have things like Lost Blender, Trumbeak, and then Natu as an additional Lost March attacker, people were thinking that this was the second coming of Night March. They're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be broken. And on the day of release on TCGO, the Jumpluffs were going for like 6 or 7 Lost March. Like, that's all the offers that I was seeing. So naturally I held off a little bit because I was like, okay, there's no way, even if this deck becomes really that good, Jumpluff is not going to go for 6 or 7 packs, 6 or 7 packs each. So, but I mean, even despite that, I was thinking that Lost March was not going to be Night March for the main reason that it's a lot slower. And so my question of the day is, what are your guys' thoughts on Lost March? Do you think it has place in the meta, or do you think it was just insanely overhyped and is just not good enough to compete? As for me, you guys can probably tell where I'm going with this. I was not on the hype train for Lost March at all. I thought that it was way too slow. The big thing about Night March, what made that so good, was the pure explosiveness of that. I mean, you had Battle Compressor, you had Ultra Ball, and like, you were able to attack on turn 1 and hit for absolutely absurd amounts of damage. I mean, with things like Shaman as well, you could dig, Acrobike, Trainer's Mail. There were just an insane amount of cards that would help you dig through your deck, find what you want, discard what you wanted, and just have these insanely explosive turns to where you go through upwards of 2/3 to 3/4 of your deck on turn 1 and hit for 180. So yeah, that's why Night March was so good. And when I saw Lost March, the fact that, first of all, it was on Jumpluff, which is a red flag, it's like, up, that is a stage 2, instantly much, much slower. Even though Skiploom does have the ability of being able to search Jumpluff out of the deck and put it and Hoppip in the Lost Zone, that's still a turn of evolution that you have to do. And so really just, I don't know, I was not a fan of Lost March, and I really thought that it was overhyped, and I still think that it was overhyped and has really fallen out of favor. I believe at the Latin American International Championships, it didn't even place like top 32. It might have placed like 1 or 2 in the top 64, but it was pointed out to me that, if this is incorrect, I do apologize, but I know that it did not top 8 like 1,000,000,000%. So I know that it didn't do very well. And if I remember correctly, I think an unknown deck even outplaced it. So yeah, Lost March, in my opinion, from the very beginning, it was overhyped. It would not be as good. And it seems to me that the competitive scene is kind of forming around that as well, forming that opinion as well. So let me know what your guys' thoughts on Lost March is. Again, personally, I think it's overhyped. It was overrated. And so yeah, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But nonetheless, this is a deck that can get some solid wins. It's a deck that you can have some fun with. Very, very straightforward. The whole strategy behind the deck is getting a bunch of Pokemon into the Lost Zone, and then Lost Marching with Jumpluff and Natu for one-hit knockouts on your opponent's EXs. Or not EXs, your opponent's GXs. And that's another thing that hurt Lost March too. GXs have higher HP than EXs, so it was a lot easier to hit for like 180 with Night March, whereas these GXs have 210, and in some cases they have like 240, 250, so it's a lot harder to hit those numbers anyway, which also hurts Lost March. But either way, I mean, just a very, very straightforward deck. Yeah, just the whole strategy centered around Jumpluff. Like, I'm trying to think of interesting things to say, like something that'll be a different take on Lost March than it typically would, but I mean, this is how you run the deck. You run 4-4-4 of Hoppip, Skiploom, and Jumpluff because they're the main engine that keeps you going. You run 4 Trumbeak for the ability to look at your opponent, the top card on your opponent's deck, and if it's a supporter, you can put that in the Lost Zone, but you can put Trumbeak in the Lost Zone as well. So basically, it's just kind of a, well, maybe I can disrupt my opponent while also getting another Mon in the Lost Zone. Quite frankly, you could just reveal the top card of your opponent's deck and put Trumbeak in the Lost Zone, and it would still be used just because that's the main effect that you go for. And then we're running a couple copies of Natu as a backup attacker in case we're not able to stream Jumpluffs, because once Jumpluff goes down, there's really no way to recur it because your Skiplooms and Hoppips will be in the Lost Zone, which is another thing that hurts this deck compared to Night March. Night March, you can run Rescue Stretcher to just pick stuff out of the discard pile. In its heyday, you could use Puzzle of Time for that very effect. Then you also had Marshadow to be able to use. Actually, you could use Marshadow as well in this deck, which is something I might look into in the future in a different version. Actually, no, you couldn't even use Marshadow because basic attack, I guess you could use that with Natu. But sorry, that just kind of mucks up the deck, and so that's why I decided not to try Marshadow, because I'm now remembering that at first I thought about that. But yeah, either way, just not able to recycle the Mons. It's a little bit too slow. But yeah, as for the numbers of Mons we're running a single copy of Oranguru for Pokemon Draw Support, for Trumbeak, for the absolute number to throw those Mons into, or throw this Mon into the Lost Zone, also potentially disrupt our opponent, but less so. 4/4/4 of Hoppip, Skiploom, and Jumpluff, just because main attacker of this deck, that's how it works. 3 Natu as backup attackers. You could run 4, but I mean, Natu doesn't really boost the damage output by being in the discard pile, so it's just kind of like a, well, we kind of just need a little tiny backup attacker, so Natu works for that. Additionally, 2 Lele for energy drive. Oh, and also one final thing that I forgot to mention about this deck. This deck is very counterintuitive to how you would normally play the early game in Mons, or in the TCG. Like, normally you would play an energy onto a Mon from the very beginning and just go from there, like attaching multiple energy, getting multiple things powered up. You can't do that with Lost March, and like, that's something that I've struggled with thus far, and will probably, let's be real, do in the live today. I will attach to a Hoppip or a Skiploom before I evolve it into a Jumpluff, and it's just like, well, that card goes into the discard pile as well. So if you don't have a Natu and a DCE, you should not attack, or not attach turn 1, just because that will be a resource that you no longer get. So just something to think about. 2 Lost Blender to act as a fake, yeah, just like a fake Battle Compressor Acrobike. Oh, not even a Battle Compressor, but just like a fake Acrobike or Trainer's Mail to try to mill through the deck while throwing resources that you want in the Lost Zone into the Lost Zone. 4/4 of Nest Ball and Ultra Ball. Nest Ball is nice because we'll be able to get a basic Grass Energy or a basic Grass Pokemon, just be able to accelerate energy into our hands so that we can run smaller numbers and still have access to it. And then 4 Ultra Ball just to guarantee get the mons we want when we want them. 2 Rescue Stretcher for recursion because we might have to discard Jumpluffs early or Natus or something like that. And then as for the supporters, you have 4/3 of Cynthia and Guzma. Just kind of my starting is 4/4, but I cut down 1 Guzma because of, I mean, just space constraints. 2 Lillie to draw into more cards on turn 1, also build up your hand a little bit more later in the game. Just Lillie is a nice draw supporter for this deck. 4 Professor Elm's Lecture, and you might be running, why am I running 4 of these? Well, that's because you can grab Skiploom with him. Like, plain and simple, Elm's Lecture lets you get both Hoppip and Skiploom, but also Natu. So there's enough mons that this deck likes having into the hand, like they just go straight into the hand, that Elm's Lecture is very, very nice for that. 3 Choice Bands to boost the damage output, 2 DCE for Natu, and to a lesser extent Lele attacking, and then 5 Grass Energy for Jumpluff. So yeah, I mean, this is very, very straightforward, nothing too special about this version of the deck. So hopefully I don't attach energy early too much, but we know it's going to happen because it's me. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. I'm sorry guys, so Camtasia crashed, and I lost the first half of this game against Giratina Malamar, and so this is becoming kind of interesting. So what you missed is I'm still can't get into the mindset of don't play your energy immediately, and so unfortunately there is going to be an energy in the lost pile, or the lost zone, sorry, not lost pile, because I'm dumb, and this is starting to be a relatively difficult game. So spell tag, okay, it's just 4 damage counters, gonna knock out the Giratina. Now let's play down the... Ah, no, that was stupid. Should not have played down the Natu. Because now he can just easily spell tag knock me out. Let's see, am I able to Floral Path to the Sky? No, you can only do that if there is a Jumpluff in your deck. So unfortunate, but I will be able to knock out this Giratina. And yeah, I immediately regret playing down that Natu because that's a free prize for him. Like, it really is. I mean, I guess all he would have had to do was... Yeah, all he had to do was just pile up the damage on the Skiploom and then play the Giratina back onto his bench in order to take a prize off of that. So, I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world that he's knocking out the Natu, but I mean, that's still a free prize for my opponent. So, yeah, and I'd rather keep the Skiploom alive. That way I can potentially get the Jumpluff again later in the game. So please, Jumpluff, maybe? Nope, just Elm. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but I mean, like, at least it keeps my Skiploom active, or at least it keeps my Skiploom around to where I will potentially be able to, when I draw into my Jumpluff, be able to Floral Path, throw them into the Lost Zone, get rid of all the damage counters on it, and then have another Jumpluff around. So that's going to be a pretty interesting situation. He will be able to knock out my Jumpluff this coming turn. But, okay, yeah, he is just tagging my own Jumpluff. And then if he has a spell tag... Yeah, if he has a spell tag, then he can knock me out. Which could be pretty annoying. So what I can do this coming turn... Yeah, this is where it gets really iffy. Because what I can do this coming turn is try to... No, because there won't be enough in the loss. Man, if I had that other Jumpluff, I'd be able to Guzma up the... Lele and knock it out with Lost March. But yeah, and he does have a spell tag. Ah, crap. So he will be even able to knock out my Skiploom this coming turn, and this is where it just gets super tricky. So, man, I'd really like to be able to knock out his Lele, but unfortunately I'm not able to. Oh, and I also had a choice band that ended up there. But I mean, I think I did attack with a... I attacked with a Hoppip early on, so that's why I had the choice band on it. I just threw that on there, and I have a netball. No, I do not want to do that, I don't think. How do I want to do this? This is such a tricky turn. Because if I knock his Giratina out... Yeah, I think I just have to do that and hope. Okay, there's the Trumbeak. Man, that would have been nice to have last turn when I could have knocked out the Lele. And we do actually find a Judge off my opponent's top deck, which is nice-ish to get rid of. But, okay, there's... Yeah, I will be able to shuffle the Jumpluff back into my deck, which means that I will be able to deny my opponent those prizes at the very least. So let's go ahead and Floral Path to grab a Jumpluff. Yeah, and this way I can... If I get an energy this coming turn, I will be able to knock out his Lele. And then let's just go ahead and Lost March, knock out the Giratina. And he can't even just spell tag onto this active and knock me out with Giratina's ability. So this is... Honestly, this game's going to come down to whether or not I'm able to get a... Okay, he's targeting my Lele. If I top deck into a Grass Energy or a DCE, I will be able to win the game. Can I get one? Nope, there is just the last Jumpluff. Man, that would have been nice to have. That would have been nice to have last turn when I could have knocked out the Lele, but yeah, unfortunate. Like, I think this... Yeah, I need... Like, I really, really need to just... Sorry, I'm trying to think of how can I win this? Because Giratina is always going to be able to come back. And if I have... I don't have any more... I don't have any other way of getting a Jumpluff. Because I think all my Hoppips and Skiplooms are in the Lost Zone. So I might have to rely on Natu. But at the same time, Natu is going to be a big issue. Just because it can easily just be spell tagged for a knockout. So he will Shadow Impact my Jumpluff. And if I top deck into a Grass Energy or a DCE, I will win the game. Like, just plain and simple, I will win the game if I'm able to get either of those. And if I can get... Nope, neither. So, alright, alright, Lillie, come on. I need 1 energy. If I get an energy, then I think the prize trade can play in my favor. Okay. So... maybe. So, okay, the fact remains I still need a DCE next turn. So, I mean, had I just top-decked into that level ball, I could have Guzma'd up his Lele and knocked it out. But I am able to knock out the Giratina. And this is all going to come down to... Okay, still... Oh, man, I don't need Guzmas. Why am I all of a sudden getting, like, triple Guzmas in my hand lately? That's ridiculous. Ah, this is going to come down to the wire. I think my opponent has it, though. Like, I need to get lucky off of this top deck. Like, I need to get something that can, like... I need to either just draw straight into a DCE, or I need to get... Okay, there is a Cynthia left. I need to just draw straight into a DCE, or I need to draw into a way of getting rid of cards in my hand so that I can Lillie for the maximum amount of cards and maximize my odds of getting... Actually, never mind. My opponent just has the game, so yeah, I'm going to scoop right there. If I had got a... Yeah, if I had gotten the regular energy or the DCE, like if I had just drawn into that, then I would have been able to win the game. But unfortunately, that's not how it played out. But I mean, again, it's also somewhat my fault for playing that. Well, not somewhat my fault. It is, I guess it is partially my fault. Like, I could have gotten lucky, but it was also my fault for discarding, or not necessarily discarding, but attaching to a Hoppip early and having that energy put into the Lost Zone. That was just one less energy that I had access to. So unfortunate that that's how that game played out, and even more unfortunate that the first half of that game just got completely lost due to Camtasia crashing. But I mean, still, endgame was kind of cool to say the least. We don't come out with a victory, unfortunately. So yeah, let's just go ahead and try to find another one and hope that it goes slightly better in the next game. Alrighty, we have found one, and hopefully it doesn't crash this time, but we are up against... I didn't even see the name because I was looking away temporarily and no idea what type of deck my opponent is running. So that is a great start. Good job, Sticks. Way to go. But luckily we do win the coin flip, so we will get to go first. That at least is a good start, and we get a... Actually, we get a pretty darn good hand to start off with. Because what I can do is play the Natu. I'll actually be able to play the DCE immediately and not just have to... Well, not be stupid enough to get rid of everything already. Then I even get an Oranguru as well. So this is looking like a very good start. So let's go ahead and grab just a Hoppip. I think I'm just going to end up Lillieing this turn, and then let's DCE that up, and then Lillie for 5 cards, see what I can get. Alright, that is exactly what I wanted. So let's Ultra Ball, just get rid of an energy, and I think the Lost Blender. Yeah, I think that'll be the best way to go about it, to get another Hoppip. That way I can just start throwing like Skiplooms and Hoppips into the Lost Zone, because the sooner I can get that going, the better, and I will be able to potentially take knockouts. So ideally I would get another Skiploom. So I have a Skiploom in my hand. Ideally I would get another Skiploom and 2 Trumbeak, or some way to throw stuff into the Lost Zone, so that I can immediately get... So I can immediately get my Natu to be able to one-hit knock out his Oranguru. So he starts with an Apricorn Maker with no Lele, so that's pretty impressive. A very solid start for them, but I mean, I guess I started with a Lillie, so I can't even say much. So now we will be able to see what type of deck my opponent is running. And okay, it's going to be a Granbull, probably going to see a Magcargo as well. I would think that would be the 2-mon setup you'd go for with double Nest Ball on turn 1, just to get those things out. Or it could also see like a Snubble Ditto, just some combination of those mons. That way you can get like a Magcargo and a Granbull this next turn. But ooh, well, get the Lost Blender, but not when we want it. So I'm gonna go ahead. Ah, dang it. I didn't mean to do that. Oops. Well, guys, I'm an idiot. So let's just go ahead and Floral Path to the Sky. Oh, why am I dumb? Why am I dumb? That was... Oh, I couldn't even... Like, I could have even went ahead and Floral Pathed and then attached to the Jumpluff, but no. Oh, I'm stupid. I am dumb. I am so dumb. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is Lost Blender, throw that in there, and then not quite enough to knock out. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That was such a stupid move. Man, I'm I am not used to playing with this deck yet. I mean, like, I've done a decent amount of practice with it, but obviously not nearly enough, as I'm still making plays like that. But oh, I was even thinking of, okay, I can just Floral Path and then attach the energy, but then I just did that in the completely wrong order. I attached the energy and didn't even Floral Path, but then I Floral Path later, so it's just like, hey, you know how I had an attachment that turn? Well, yeah, I really don't need it. I'm just going to handicap myself for this part of the game, and yeah, I'll just go ahead and throw an energy into the Lost Zone so you don't have to worry about it. Oh man, I'm an idiot. But either way, my opponent is just going to go ahead and Tate and Liza for a fresh hand. Luckily, they haven't gotten a way to get Oranguru out of the active, so I'm not being punished too insanely hard. I mean, I definitely deserve to because, let's face it, I'm dumb. But I will be in a solid enough spot. And the question is, do I want to knock out the Oranguru, or do I want to try to take out the Granbull? My opponent is going to go ahead and Lost Blender, get rid of an energy, which honestly isn't the worst. I mean, that's good for me. Like, it's not great that he got rid of an energy, but, like, it's solid enough, and he is just going to instruct. I guess maybe if he runs a switch, that could be annoying. But I don't think that there's anything particularly scary. Was that an energy switch? That might be an energy switch. But he does just grab the Magcargo, and sorry, I was like hiccuping, trying to suppress a hiccup. And he will be able to get the Magcargo and then put something on the top of his deck. So that will work out nicely for my opponent at the very least, because, like, what he can do is Magcargo, put like a Snubbull, a Nest Ball, just he can put something on top of his deck that he can immediately play and then immediately attack. But I think that we will have the definite advantage in this game once I'm able to get a sufficient amount of Mon set up. And I do get a Netball, which is gorgeous. I can just go ahead and grab a Grass Energy. I would have liked to have grabbed a Hoppip, but well, I would have liked to have grabbed a Hoppip in the event that I already had one set up, but nope, I am just dumb. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is grab, I think, a Hoppip and 2 Skiploom. Just go ahead and do that. That way I can get them, I can potentially get another setup. Or do I want a Natu? Nah, let's get another Skiploom, because I have 3 Jumpluff still in the deck. Do I want to do that? Or do I want the Natu? Ah, I want the Natu. I want the Natu just in case I draw into a DCE. I don't know. I was kind of, I mean, I still have the Elm for next turn, so I can always play that back down, and then I will be able to Floral Path, get into a Jumpluff, and then also I still will be able to instruct this turn anyway. So yeah, I mean, I like that, just because I wouldn't have been able to instruct if I didn't grab the Natu, and we actually grabbed something that is probably the last thing I wanted to see in my hand. It's a Jumpluff, so we are able to knock out his Oranguru, and then in the next turn, I will be able to, so I'll have to Floral Path. That'll be, I'm hitting for 100 damage. 2 more will be 140. Okay, so yeah, I'll be able to Floral Path next turn because I will have a, because with the Elm I can get another Skiploom. So as long as I don't top deck into another Jumpluff, I will be just fine. My opponent is going to promote the Granbull, and he grabbed an Oranguru off the top of the deck. I mean, that makes sense because then you can have the combination of Magcargo and Oranguru, and he might have just, okay, I think he instructed for an Ultra Ball. I feel like that would make the most sense in this situation, because not only does it play you down to 0, but yeah, that's definitely what it did, but it can also get you another Snubbull. And it looks like he actually had to discard a Granbull and a Fairy Energy, which is very, very unfortunate that those were the cards that my opponent had to discard with that Ultra Ball. So, I mean, very good play by my opponent. Clearly they know what they're doing, and he will be able to knock out my Natu with an all-in, so, or an all-out, I don't remember. It's all-out or all-in. But either way, we'll be able to promote the Jumpluff. We'll be able to get another Jumpluff setup. Let's go ahead and evolve, or not evolve, but play the Hoppip. Grab 2 Skiploom, I think. Yeah, let's just go ahead and grab both of those. I could have grabbed the other Natu, but I don't know. I just felt like it would be better to, it'd be better later in the game so that or next turn rather, when I can evolve the other one, so that I can potentially instruct, and then let's DCE up the Natu. I don't think my opponent will be able to play any Enhanced Hammer, because those would be cards that would sometimes be dead. Like, you wouldn't necessarily be always able to play Enhanced Hammer, and in a Granbull deck, like, every single card counts. And I get another Elm's Research, seriously? But yeah, I don't think they'll be playing any Enhanced Hammers just because they can't afford to. Like, it would be unwise, I think. Like, it just wouldn't make sense to play Enhanced Hammers. That's something that you can't necessarily always play. So my opponent is going to go ahead and Nest Ball. They need an energy. So it's just a matter of... Actually, I think you should have held on to the Nest Ball because... Because he's going to have to smooth over into Instruct. And I guess it's kind of a 50-50. Because if you draw into... If you Instruct into 2 cards... Like, if you put the energy on top... I don't know, I think I'm okay with that, with playing that down, actually. So my opponent is going to go ahead and Rescue Stretcher. I would think he'll put a Snubbull onto his bench, or he goes for the Oranguru. I guess just needing more to draw into more cards this turn. Because, okay, so this is... Okay, so he has the other Rescue... Okay, so he got 2 Rescue Stretchers. That makes sense. And... See, like, that's why I think my opponent should have just smoothed over for an energy and held on to the Nest Ball, because what he could have done is if he just drew into the energy in the Rescue Stretcher, he'd be able to attach the energy, Rescue Stretcher, and then also Nest Ball in that same turn. Then his hand would have been played down to 0, and he would have been able to attack. So, I don't know, it's a lot of calculated risk, and a ton of thought goes into Granbull. In fact, when I do my Granbull deck profile, I can almost guarantee you that I will be barely talking when it comes around, just because so much thought has to go into every single turn. Like, you cannot afford to make one single misstep. Like, if you misstep, you are absolutely screwed. So he's going to grab a Snubbull. I guess he's just giving me his Granbull, which is fine. But what this also can allow me to do is I can potentially Guzma this turn. I get a Trumbeak. Ooh, this is good. I can see what card... Okay, how do I play Trumbeak? Do I have to just kind of throw it on a full bench? I guess so. It's a Great Ball. So I did get rid of that. I can evolve my Hoppip into a Skiploom. And then I'm actually going to Guzma up the Magcargo, because I can knock it out with my Natu. Do I want to go ahead and put up Natu? Because, I mean, I have Free Retreat with Jumpluff. I think the play is to just go into Jumpluff and then retreat back out into Jumpluff. Because, I mean, I want to save the Natu, and then I can Instruct, maybe get a Draw supporter for next turn. No, it's just an Ultra Ball, but that's okay. I can just Lost March, knock out the Magcargo so that my opponent cannot control his top decks, and go from there. So I think that'll be the way to go. And honestly, I don't even need to use Jumpluff's ability or Skiploom's ability. I can just evolve straight into a Jumpluff, because with the amount of mons that I have in the Lost Zone right now, I don't need any more. Like, I can afford to just have Jumpluff like straight up evolve rather than use the ability to throw it into the Lost Zone. So I think I'm in a very good position. My opponent is going to grab another Granbull and then Instruct. Like, he has to, like, without the Magcargo, I know firsthand that it is very difficult to get exactly what you need without the Magcargo. Like, the Magcargo really makes the deck go. So he plays down the Shrine of Punishment. Do we see a bodybuilding... Okay, maybe I do need it. Because I have 160. Yeah, I think I do need that. Wow. Did not think that would be the case, but I do have the cards in my hand that will allow me to do that. Like, I can just Ultra Ball, get rid of the... Okay, so what I was going to say is I could Ultra Ball, get rid of the Elm and the Jumpluff, and then shuffle the Jumpluff back into the deck, and then use Rescue Stretcher to shuffle Jumpluff back into the deck. Blah, I can't talk. And then use Floral Path to get the Jumpluff onto my bench and then instruct for 3 cards, maybe an energy, but either way, I would have all the Mons in the Lost Zone that I needed to knock out the Granbull. So yeah, we are able to take the victory in that game. Unfortunately, my opponent wasn't able to get all out more than once, as I do really like Granbull Magcargo, but honestly, not a huge fan of Lost March. I think that people were toting it as the new Night March, but it's not as explosive, and it is much, much more clunky than Night March. But either way, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.